Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Delta Airlines Flight 2998 bound for Atlanta, Georgia, with continued service to Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. All carry-on items should now be stowed securely, either in an overhead bin or under the seat in front of you. All aisles, exits, and bulkhead areas should now be clear. All electronic devices should now be turned off and stowed, as they may interfere with the aircraft's navigational and communication systems. Once airborne, we'll let you know when you may use approved electronic devices, but note that some items may not be used at any time during the flight. You'll find a list of approved devices in the in-flight information section of Sky Magazine. If you're seated in an emergency exit, please review the responsibilities for emergency exit seating on the back of the safety information card located in the seat pocket in front of you. If you are unable or prefer not to perform these functions, please let us know and we'll be happy to find you another seat. As we leave the gate, please make sure your seatbelt is fastened. To fasten, insert the metal tip into the buckle and adjust the strap so it's low and tight across your lap. To release the belt, lift the top of the buckle. Remain seated with your seatbelt securely fastened anytime the seatbelt sign is on. Even if the sign is off, we ask that you keep the seatbelt fastened while seated in case we experience some unexpected turbulence. Passengers to comply with the posted placards and lighted signs located throughout the cabin, as well as any crew member instructions. Smoking is not allowed on any Delta flight, and federal law prohibits tampering with, disabling, or destroying a restroom smoke detector. There are 12 exits on our Boeing 747-400, 12 doors, 5 on each side of the main deck, and 1 door on each side of the upper deck. 8 of the doors on the main deck have detachable slides that can be used as rafts. The doors on the upper deck and those above the wings have slides that may be used in land evacuation only. All exits are clearly marked with an exit sign. However, if we experience a loss of power resulting in cabin visibility being reduced, white lights illuminating this aisle will guide you to red lights marking each of the exits. Please take a moment to find the exits closest to you, keeping in mind that your closest exit may be behind you. If there is a drop in cabin pressure, panels above your seat will open, revealing oxygen masks. If this happens, pull a mask towards you until the tube is fully extended. Place the mask over your nose and mouth, slip the elastic strap over your head, and adjust the mask if necessary. Breathe normally and note that oxygen is flowing, even if the bag doesn't inflate. Be sure to adjust your own mask before helping others. A water evacuation is unlikely during this flight. However, life vests are located under your seats in the economy cabin, and if you're seated in first or business class, life vests are either between your seats, under your seats, or in the compartment under your armrest. To use, pull the tab to remove the vest from its container. Open the pouch, slip the vest over your head, and fasten the 2 straps to the front of the vest, and then adjust the vest to fit loosely around your waist. As you leave the plane, inflate it by pulling down on the red tabs on the bottom of the vest, or manually inflate it by blowing into the tubes at shoulder level. You can activate a light by pulling down on the tab in front. Most seat cushions can be used for flotation as well. Before we take off, please be sure your seat backs are in the upright and locked position, your tray table is put away, and all carry-on items are securely stowed. As we come through the cabin for our final safety checks, please let us know if you have any questions. We all ask that you review the safety regulation card located in the seat pocket in front of you. Once again, welcome aboard Delta Flight 2928 to Atlanta, and thank you for flying Delta.
Why he is near. It says, let the wicked forsake his way. Say, let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Let him return to the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. Sound like no matter what we did, he will forgive you. Verse 8 says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as heaven are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For as the rain comes down and the snow from heaven, and do not return there, but water the earth, and he make it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and the bread to the eater. Take your seats in Jesus' name. God never promised us a smooth ride, but a safe landing. And sometimes it's hard for you to take flight because you are so heavy, and the plane cannot lift the way it needs to lift. Isaiah dealing with when we don't understand the move of God, when we don't understand his ways, but I still got to trust his heart. It messed me up, First Lady, when he says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts. For my ways are not your ways. For as heaven are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than yours. That messed me up because in life I question sometimes why I had to go through my struggle.
Come on. Amen.
Why did I had to, my grandchild had to die 12 years ago. It was turbulence right there in my family.
Come on, preacher.
I was serving God.
Come on.
I was in ministry doing everything, but had to see my daughter, my granddaughter, laid there with no breath. And still had to preach. Still had to reach. And still had to teach.
Come on now.
How do you deal with life when there's turbulence there? And you have done all you can. And the Bible said, just stand. And I've been standing, but it's a little crazy, you know, sometimes walking this walk. The ride is not smooth. There's some bumps, there's some turbulence, and there's unexpected storms in the clouds as you are going through. But I could see the sun at the end of the cloud. And so we understand that they that live godly shall suffer persecution.
That's the Bible.
Why I had to go through so many changes with this ride. And God, I gave my life to the Lord. And you said things are going to get better, but it seems like I got bitter while I was on this plane ride. But as I stayed on the plane, I seen some better coming my way. And so what happened is we get off too quick. And it put us in the mind that we want this ticket and we want to get on this ticket. But the Bible speaks about in Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 and 14, enter ye in at the straight gate. For narrow is the way that leadeth unto righteousness, but the broad leadeth to the way of destruction. And so when you're at the airport, it's a narrow thing you got to go through. And so in the spiritual world, when you getting on this plane, it's very narrow. And so you got to walk this walk, and it's very narrow, because broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. It look good, it tastes good, but it ain't good for you. And so God said, I never promised you the smooth ride, but you're going to land well. I'm prophesying to somebody. You will land well, but I need you to stay on this plane ride. Say, stay on the ride. Say, tell your neighbor, it's getting better. It's getting better. Say, don't get bitter. It's getting better. Come on, prophesy to somebody. Say, it's getting better. And then what happened is when he said, my thoughts are not your thoughts. That's where you got to understand that, God, you got me. And I got to understand that no matter what we go through, God got you. And what we tried to do is we tried to take a connecting flight to get to our destination. I'm going to deal with that. God don't want nothing to connect on this flight. Because that may a connected flight, you're going to land somewhere and get a standby ticket. What do you do when you're on standby? It's a long wait, and you got to see if your flight is going to come. And so now God is saying that I didn't want you to connect, but you got off because you didn't like the ride. And now you got to wait for a standby ticket. I don't want to be waiting for a standby ticket. I want my names to be written in the Lamb's book of life. And so that's what happened. We think that this trying to connect from O'Hare to LAX. And then you try to get from LAX to Mexico, or whatever the case may be, there's a standby. But in the standby, prophet, is not always bad. God prefer us to stay on the plane. But in the standby, there's a lot of time for you to think. because you don't know when you're going to get to your destination. And so for those who got the connected flight in the spiritual realm, he'll drop you off so you can think about it. Yes, he will. And so God said, I'm just dropping you off. I prefer you to stay on, but since you want to get off and try to get something else connected to me, God said you can't connect no other thing to God. Say no other thing. Give God a hand praise. I'm going somewhere to deal with this. In Jeremiah 6:16, the Bible says, for ye shall find rest for your soul. David talked about in Psalms, division of Psalms 42, soul, why art thou disquiet? Trust thou in God. And so our soul get a little perplexed when the forecast don't look too good. And so there's a forecast that don't look too good, but don't you know the sun is about to shine? And I'm not talking about the S-U-N, I'm talking about the S-O-N. It's about to shine in your life. But you got to stay on the plane. Say, stay on the plane. Say, don't get off. Now check this out. When we're talking about the promise of God, he got to understand that he reward the faithful. Yes, he does. He said, I'm going to reward you. He said, I'm a rewarder of them that diligently seek me. And so when we talk about you never promise us a smooth ride, but I promise you're going to land well, but I need you to remain faithful. Be faithful, and he punished the wicked according to 2 Corinthians 5:10. So God is saying that hold on to his unchanging hand. In 2 Peter 3:9, let's turn there. Somebody needs some comfort. Yes. Because this ride ain't too good. Say, hold on. Change is coming. Say, hold on. Change is coming. It's coming. I'm telling you, it looks kind of bad right now, but it's coming. There's a transformation that is coming in your life, but you cannot abort this ride because turbulence is taking place. Turbulence is unexpected that battles the norm. And so things is trying to come in your life to battle you. And so the enemy wants you to be unnormal. Come on, Pastor. But there's rest. Say, there's rest. There's rest. Amen. 2 Peter 3:9. He said, I love this, Minister Zona. He said, the Lord is not what? Concerning his promise. Stop right there, church. Say, God is not slacking concerning his promise. He said, I'm the author and the finisher of your faith. And so God said, I won't slacken what I have promised you or have given you, but I need you to remain faithful, and I need you to rest in me on this plane ride. And so in the plane ride, the pilot said, please cut off all electronic devices. There's something that is interfering with your ride. You got some devices shouldn't be on. And it causing the plane not to get you to your destination. What spiritual electronic you got on that you shouldn't have on? Maybe you're trying to live a double life. Maybe you find yourself don't know who you are. Something is on that's causing you not to make it to your destination. Maybe it's unforgiveness. Maybe it's pride. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's how you think about yourself. What device do you have on to cause you not to make it to your destination? Reason why I can't land, because the device is on. Because when I land, it's just you and God. Somebody talk back to me, say me and God. He said the Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some count slackness, but is what? Long suffering towards us, not willing that any should what? Perish. He said, I don't want you to perish through this. Even the pilot, I love about the pilot, he's cool, calm, and collective. And sometimes you don't hear the pilot unless there's a storm coming. And sometimes you don't hear God unless there's a storm coming. Catch it, catch it, catch it. That's when you hear the pilot voice and say, we are entering into the clouds is a little thick, and we got unexpected rainstorms that is coming our way. And so it's going to be a little ride. I need you to make sure nobody is standing, and fasten your seatbelt and cut off all electronic devices, because we are about to enter into a storm. The storms it's the storms that you got to get through. If you could just make it through the storm, better is coming. He said, I'm not slack. He said, we read in Philippians 1:16, and I love this modern version. It says this, keep your Bible on 2 Peter, but Philippians 1:6, he said, I am convinced that God who began this good work in you will carry it through the completion. He said, I'm going to carry you through the completion. And so I said that completion sometimes comes with complication. And so you got to deal with the complication to get to completion, because it's a perfect work that he has begun in you. And so you got to understand that all things are working together for the good of them that love the Lord, and to them who are called according to his purpose. And so when second Peter right here, he said, the Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some count slackness, but long suffering towards, not willing that any shall perish, but all shall come to what? Repentance. And so you can't land because there's some things in your heart. David was a very smart man, did goofy stuff, but he was a very smart man. He said, God, create in me a clean heart. Renew within me a right spirit. Because I know if my spirit and my heart is not right, you can't bless me. And so we're talking about the landing part, how the plane is going to land. The plane don't land unless if there's debris and garbage, the plane cannot land. And so the coast got to be clear in your life so the plane can land. But some of us is at the point of struggling to stay on the plane. To walk this walk, to enter in the straight gate. It's a narrow walk. I can't do everything my flesh because there's no good thing in the flesh. Stop trying to please the flesh so your plane can land, because there's a destination. Now check this out. He said, for I know, we dealt with this a little last week, I know the plans that I have towards you, said the Lord, plans of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Isaiah said, my thoughts are not your thoughts, my ways are not your ways. And so on this ride, you don't understand everything. And so God is saying you got to trust him. Say, trust him. Put those hands together. Say, God, I'm going to trust you. Come on, say, I'm going to trust you. And so check this out. He said there's great comfort until we realize that patience, harm, and oppress comes against us to offend us. But through all that negativity, some things is taking place in your life. And so you got to understand that if you are in this plane, God's saying don't abort, because better is coming.